All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We hope that you enjoy. Andrew, you're pretty. Welcome to episode 346 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. Today, there are 5 of us. We got Andrew. You could say something now.
Oh, I'm allowed to talk now? Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Mark is Almighty Mark.
Greetings.
Lonnie, who made it back in time. Hallelujah.
I'm here. Now you say something, Julian.
Revenge Lonnie.
And, of course, the voice of reason, Ken, 69th Blizzard on the board. All right, we're going to be doing part 4 of our Kiss album MVP discussion. But a couple of news items this week. Kiss did, of course, just announce their return to Australia in November and December. And I think it's, 6 dates or 5 dates, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, haven't really paid attention. You can find out more on Kiss Online or Ticket Tech. Or whatever is it Frontier?
Yeah, Frontier. It's in One World. It's 6 places, 7 dates. November 14th in Perth, November 17th in Adelaide, November 20th and 21st in Melbourne, November 26th in Sydney, November 30th in Brisbane, and December 4th in Townsville.
Townsville. That's
listen, that's what it says.
Why not?
Make sure you get your tickets so you can get them canceled on you right before the concert starts.
Yeah, so that's probably the one concern going on about whether that is going to be happening. How realistic is touring returning? Going to be. Obviously, countries like New Zealand have handled COVID exceptionally well with a small population, an island, big fences, cattle prods with high voltage, and the tour is not even going there. Australia has had some outbreaks, but they've done a pretty good job of managing it again, but I'm not sure where they're at with COVID vaccinations, processes, and all of that. So, Mark, you were saying what you've heard industry-wise. What have you heard industry-wise about the possibility or probability of touring returning?
Well, I've said it a few times, even on my own channel, that talking to Billy Shearwood and these guys that I talked to, and they're keeping their fingers crossed to go back and to do a tour of England for Yes, and he doesn't seem very confident in that happening. And that's all through their business people, their promoters and managers and stuff like that, and they're even saying, Carl Palmer of ELP even said that he got directly told by all people involved in his business relations to just forget 2021, that 2022 will be the year to come back. They're thinking that it's going to be much better around those times. The numbers should be a lot lower as far as infection rates, they hope, but they're saying that they just can't see it at that point being that well that people are going to, want to go out in droves to concerts. So I don't know. We'll see, right?
I think it's going to be a 50-50 thing. You have people who want to remain cautious and not go into a lot of small places or confined places with large groups, but you also have people that are like, I don't care what show is happening, I'm going, because we've been locked up for so long. So we'll see. Listen, it's 9 months away at this point in time. So a lot could change in 9 months.
Hopefully. Yeah, over 65s are getting their COVID shots in California now, and Paul's already shared that he's had his, so presumably Gene, if he's getting one, has had his, and the whole idea of a COVID shot is that it protects you from getting really sick from COVID, so I'm sure they're perfectly fine with, as long as they're protected from getting really sick from COVID, of going back on tour. They have said that they didn't want to do so while there was any risk to the audience, but probably hoping that a country of 13 to 15 million will have, pretty advanced, pretty far ahead on getting shots out there to those who want to take them and have that additional layer of protection. And again, it is about playing the odds and, I don't even know where Australia is at with its, vaccination programs and whatnot. And to be perfectly frank, I don't really care where they're at. I'm not going to be going to the tour. I hope people who do, I hope it happens. I really do hope it is, because I think if Menudo announced a concert in San Francisco next weekend, I would probably go. A lot of people would probably go because they just want to go to a concert. Lonnie, would you go?
You love Menudo.
Do you want to go to a concert at this point so badly?
Would I go? I think so. Life's about taking risks too. I mean, I drive 45 minutes to work every day. I mean, I could get in a car accident and die on my way to work. Probably more likely than I would of dying from COVID, actually. So I'm not. To further Andrew's point, I think people are tired of cowering in their homes, and I think when things start to open back up, there's going to be a percentage of the population that's going to be like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to this football game, or I'm going to this concert, or whatever.
There's going to be a lot of weird shit that you see at 7 p.m. now.
Oh, for sure. And there will be a percentage of the population too that say, no, I'm not ready for that. You know what? I can watch YouTube, or I can watch a DVD, or I can watch the game on TV just as well as I can in attendance. So it'll be interesting to see, what factions of the population, and where it goes. But like November's a long ways off. So let's be positive and hope for that things are at least on their way back to normal by then, and these deeds do occur.
Voice of reason, chime in.
Yeah. I mean, if the band or group or whoever, artist or team, if it's worth it to me, and things seem semi back to normal, and most people have had their shots, I'll probably go to something. I would just like to ask Mark on his news he got for, what was it? Did you say Grant Parsons?
Oh no, Carl Palmer.
I mean Carl Palmer. Sorry, I get those guys mixed up. I don't know why, but Carl Palmer. I said, did you get your Carl Palmer news from the Carl Palmer FAQ site? Is that what it was?
No. Actually, I got it from his Twitter, actually, and it was also kind of verified through some other people that I know through Yes and the Yes management end of stuff too. So, just to answer my end of that really quickly, if you don't mind. I mean, about going to concerts and stuff like that. I mean, I would maybe risk it. I mean, I'm right now being asked to go to England in August because we're having our big 10-year anniversary of the Yes Music podcast happening in August, and he wants me to go there because they're going to do a live broadcast from Yes Tour, which is a place in England where that's related to Yes, more notably the Tormato record. But I'm not really sure if I want to go, mainly because my elderly mother lives with me, okay? And I'm not so much concerned about me as much as I'm concerned about bringing something back and getting her infected. And I don't care what concert it is, that ain't worth it to me. I don't give a shit who's playing. My health and my mother's health is more important to me than seeing a concert. I mean, that could happen any time down the road, right? So, I mean, that's just kind of how I sit right now with it.
Yeah, and in individual factors, everyone makes their own decisions. Life is full of choices. As Lonnie said, life is full of risk as well. You just have to balance it. But there is a show coming that you're going to be able to experience, and that is the new... What a nice segue that was. Kiss Off the Soundboard details have leaked out a little bit early on the usual sorts of websites that don't follow instructions. So the details for Kiss Off the Soundboard Tokyo 2001. This has been heavily bootlegged. It's a soundboard that has been out for years. It is one that sounds like crap since it's been sourced from the lossy webcast. And I'm actually thrilled that it's coming out, and now that the details, we already knew the details. Andrew got annoyed. Now that the details are out, I'm looking forward to a proper, and I'm hoping it's as bombastic as a live recording should sound off the soundboard, with the Ace Frehley, Eric Singer lineup from 2001. Does it float your guys' boat? Ken, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I pre-ordered. So
You don't
I
even
think
know what it is. What are you...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I just followed Lonnie's lead, and I thought, he must know. So I ordered it. I see the Amazon thing. They took that off because these sites, I guess, well, even Target, I think, put up theirs too early, and so on. So, but yeah, I'm interested in that, and it sounds like it's going to be a series of live shows. So I'm looking forward to see what else they'll do after that.
Very basic packaging as it appears now from the mock-up. So who
Yeah.
knows what it's going to end up looking like, because they did do a series previously, and Cinderella released one, and it was very no frills, eco-friendly digi for the CD. They didn't do vinyl for that. I actually had the radio show of that before it came out, which was, cool to then get the official product. And Kiss was lined up back then. I think it was Nashville, 1990, that was supposed to come out. Or, do correct me if I'm wrong, because it's so long ago.
I think it was Nashville '84, to be honest with you.
Could well have been.
Oh, no. I'm wrong totally. It was Nashville 1998.
Okay, so that was one of the shows that was recorded for
the 6-song overseas
along with Indy and the other venue. Andrew, since you're speaking, what are your thoughts on Tokyo 2001 if that does turn out to be completely accurate?
So far, well, I do apologize. I don't know what happened to my internet just there. That's why I just cut out. But listen, I mean, this is something that is a huge needed update. I don't know if you guys remember, but way back when we were talking about what was to be included in the Kissology Volume 3 box set, one of the shows that kept coming up was this Tokyo 2001. Mm-hmm. And for people who aren't hardcore collectors like all of us, this was a webcast put out by NHK in 2001. So all of the video and audio comes from this webcast, and it really suffers from a 2001 webcast. I mean, there's a lot of scrubbing sounds. It doesn't sound great. The band looks like they sound good and they look good, but this is something that needs an update. So if this ends up being the show, which I think it's going to be, this is something that's cool. I've wanted it for a really long time. I've wanted it for 20 years. I've wanted it since it happened, because it was one of those cool shows that they saw and we got. Just a couple of quick facts about a couple of frequently asked questions about this show. Rightfully so on the KissFAQ podcast. This doesn't include the medley. The medley started happening March 18th in Nagoya, Japan. So don't get excited. There's no medley in here. Talk to Me is included in here, and that I Was Made for Loving You did replace Beth in the encore position. But this is going to be your standard farewell tour set, with 2,000 Man and Shock Me and all that stuff. No, I apologize. No 2,000 Man, because that Talk to Me replaced those, man. My apologies.
Wait, no, Beth? We're being ripped off.
This is your standard farewell tour show.
I'm not gonna get it then.
This is the band, and even fans that saw this leg of the tour says the band was on fire on this leg of the tour. They sounded great, and everybody was having a lot of fun. So this is a cool show to start off with, my opinion. It's not your Houston, it's not your Anaheim, it's not your whatever. This is something cool that has never been officially released by the band.
Yeah.
So I think this is great. As far as all the listings going up and coming down, you guys aren't toy or action figure collectors. I am. This happens all the time in collecting, where there's like a page that either Target puts up just for a placeholder, or something goes up by accident and then it's taken down a couple days later. So I wouldn't worry about it. This is coming. There just hasn't been an official announcement from the band yet.
Fine. Lonnie?
No, I'm excited about it. Obviously, because I got ridiculed on the FAQ and I pre-ordered it and I didn't know what it was. But now that I do know what it is, I'm more excited about it, because it's the lineup that majority of almost all Kiss fans didn't get a chance to see. There's only a handful of shows recorded by this lineup, and we've all heard the bootlegs and they all sound great, and the band has just a renewed energy on that leg of the tour. So what a cool leaping off point if this is going to be a series of shows like this. Yeah, hey, here's this little gem from this lineup that that hardly anyone got to see. So what a great way to kick it off. So I'm excited about that. and I'm excited to see what may follow.
So Lonnie, who had no idea what he's buying, is really happy that he did now.
I am.
We're Kiss fans. We do that. Oh, new Kiss product to be announced. Click, buy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long have we wanted this, though? How long have we wanted something
Since the
like this?
webcast.
Like a long time.
We're like, it'd be really
Yeah.
nice to have something that sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but there was also a USA webcast from Chicago in May of 2000. And I was the first kid on my block that had broadband internet, so I was able to watch it. And I was able to go back and rewatch it for a couple of weeks after that. I would love to see that webcast still.
You didn't capture it?
Yeah.
It was the year 2000. I was lucky that I even got to see it.
Mark.
Yeah, well, at first I was kind of like ho-hum about it because there wasn't really much information about the whole thing, like what it was and stuff. But to be honest, when I heard that it was this particular show, I'm much, much more interested in it now because it is, excuse me, one of the lineups that I really, really love, actually. I think that was one of the best lineups that Kiss had, was this one with Eric Singer in the band with Ace still in the group. I loved watching that performance when it's on YouTube. There's, it's not the greatest sounding, like you guys said, but it's still, I think, one of their best performances as a band. And if they can go in and clean it up nicely, which you can do very easily with modern audio technology, I think it could be a very worthwhile album to have in the collection, and probably will be one of my first excitable Kiss purchases I've made in a very, very long time. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm just hoping that soon it'll be on some sort of non-UK site that you can order from as shipping as a murder to Canada. So
I just think it was funny how pissed off fans were. They're like, "Oh, we got to order from the UK." I'm like, guys, it hasn't even been officially announced yet.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah. So I think anyone who's been girding their loins waiting for big announcements, there are definitely things coming, and now you have an idea of some of those, and hopefully that brightens someone's day. If it doesn't brighten yours, fine, move on. Next thing. So Wolf Mother and Tumbleweed are the opening acts for Australia, apparently. Whatever that means. Haven't heard
Wolf
of
Mother.
either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Wolf Mother. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into the topic. 15 minutes later. This is the wrap-up episode of the Kiss album MVP battle. So we're going to start with Carnival of Souls and go through... I threw in a few extra ones just because I wanted to.
I saw that.
Yeah, so MVP for Carnival of Souls. Ken and I agree, so we'll start with Lonnie.
I went with Bruce Kulick. I mean, Gene and Paul were not really... It's been documented that they weren't really that present during a lot of these recordings, and I think Bruce just kind of took the reins, and it really shows when you listen to the album. It has Bruce's fingerprints all over it, and to me it sounds a lot like, at least song wise, it sounds a lot like what BK3 sounds like in a lot of ways, in my opinion. And I think Bruce did a great job. It's really, and Bruce gets to end it with I Walk Alone, just appropriately with I Walk Alone, while he's in the studio trying to do this album while Gene and Paul are planning to kick him out of the band, basically. So I think it's Carnival of Souls isn't my favorite record. I wish it would have more of the, I wish it, maybe if they weren't planning on a reunion tour, they maybe would have stuck with Bob Ensford and be more in the sound wise of Revenge. But I think Bruce is definitely the MVP, given the fact that he was just left at the helm to take over this album.
Andrew.
I said Bruce as well too. I do have a question for the panel here. Did anybody get this album before it was officially released?
Absolutely.
Yes.
A couple of
like-
versions of it, actually. Yeah.
Like probably a long time before it officially came out, right?
Yeah.
Long time. Yeah.
So I didn't, and when the album was announced to come out, I thought it was going to be Ace and Peter on it, and I thought it was going to be their last album. I mean,
No.
there's barely an internet back then, so I had no idea. So when I got it, I was like, "What's this?" But anyway, as I've grown and as I've learned more about it over the years, it is very much a Bruce Kulick record. You could tell Bruce poured his heart into this one, just kind of like he poured his heart and fingerprints into the Asylum record. Bruce is all over that Asylum record as far as guitar work goes. So he's the MVP on this one, and he's really the only member of the band that actually went and took this material and performed it with other acts that he's performed with. You know, the ESP Project, Bruce Kulick Band, Eric Singer and Friends, the Kulick Brothers. You know, they've performed a lot of these songs, Jungle, Master and Slave, and just it's something that you could tell he's really proud of. And it's always cool to listen to Bruce talk about the Carnival of Souls record. So, yeah, I agree with Lonnie. Bruce is the MVP of this record.
How about that Carnival of Souls medley from the Kiss cruise? Oh, yeah. Was I glad I was on that cruise for that. Mark.
Yeah, well, that's 3 for 3. I also selected Bruce Kulick. I mean, there's no question in my mind that he's the MVP on this record because, like everybody already said, he was the only one who gave a shit about this record. You can clearly see that people's minds are elsewhere in the studio when they're working on this. I mean, I think the photographer had to ask Gene 3 times to, look up on the photograph that they were doing during that time, when you see there was that extra footage on the Kissology there, Gene, and he finally looks up. His mind is elsewhere. He didn't give a shit about the record. They were already looking forward to doing the reunion tour, and Bruce is the only one who put any kind of effort into the material. I mean, the solos are actually really good on there. I think Bruce's playing is really good on this record. I mean, the songs aren't the greatest, but his performance is really well done. And I mean, if we're talking about MVPs, then obviously it clearly needs to go to Bruce Kulick on this one.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right. So now that we've gotten Bruce out of the way, let's go to Ken.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say, I think, Bruce did a great job on it, obviously. And he had to take a lot of the work. But I would say, Eric Singer, too, probably. Even though he wasn't writing a lot of music, but it was him and Eric, doing a lot of the work in there. But having said that, I chose Gene. I think the music that he brought to the table on this album I like all of the songs, all of Gene's songs on this. I think they're all really stellar songs, and he's in, fine voice on it. Come on, Hate is just great. I didn't mean to rhyme that, by the way. But Childhood's End, I love that. In My Head, I love Seduction and Innocence. I think that's just great. It's different, but it's so cool. So I think he's this dark kind of music is meant for Gene. That's why we're not talking about Paul at all, because Paul, it just did not fit Paul at all. I think I only like 2 of Paul's songs on this album. It's to me it's Gene. It's just a solid album for him. It's great material, great performance.
I went with Gene so that someone would agree with Ken, and so that Ken wouldn't be able to see that no one ever votes for Gene. No, actually, when I was thinking about it, Bruce, I take him for granted on this album. His guitar work is fantastic. His bass is fantastic as well, since he plays a lot of the bass on the album. But for the exact same reasons Ken kind of mentioned, Gene's songs on this are actually sublime. I mean, I love Jungle, I do love Master and Slave, but then you get into stuff like Rain, In the Mirror, and it's like, Paul, this is not your thing. Whereas Gene's really exploring kind of new areas and dialing in some fantastic songs. I mean, I Confess is just fantastic. You've already mentioned Seduction, Ken, and Childhood's End. I mean, just those 3. Hate, I can leave or take. It doesn't matter. But I just really thought that his songwriting was so much more suited to this album style than Paul's, and everyone else is just a co-writer on it. And Bruce is going to deliver the same for whatever the product is, whether it's Carnival of Souls, whether it's Crazy Nights, or Revenge, or Asylum. So, I mean, he's like all reliable. Just dial a Bruce. And he's perfect. But I am appreciative that he kept the music alive. All right, let's move on. Next one, Psycho Shithouse. Let's start with Lonnie.
This one was rough. It was rough to listen to. I loved this album when it came out. Absolutely loved this album, and it has not aged well for me at all. was very difficult to sit there and get through. And I'm like, no, side A and side B. I'm like, oh, it doesn't get any better. Actually, it gets a little worse on side B. So I went.
You had two sides on that CD?
Well, you know what I mean. But I went with Paul because of the title track, and it's my favorite song on the album, and it's the song that has stood the test of time from the album is the title track. And Pledge Allegiance is good. I think they wanted to do it on the tour, but I just don't think they could get it together to do Pledge Allegiance. So much that they wanted to do it that those first few shows in Australia in 2004, they did play Pledge Allegiance a few times. So I think they really had wanted to do that song for a while and just could not get it together to do it. So I went with Paul just for the title track and for Pledge Allegiance more than Raise Your Glasses, which I think is awful, which I liked at the time, but again, the album has not aged well for me at all. So reluctantly had to pick Paul.
Mark.
Well, I agree with Lonnie. This was a difficult listen, but difficult listen from the songwriting end of things. Definitely not difficult listening as far as sonically speaking, which is the reason why I picked Bruce Fairbairn as the MVP in this, because I honestly think that he made probably the best sounding Kiss record that they've had for a very long time. And he's always made great sounding records. Unfortunately, the music that was on there was shit. And, the performances were okay. I mean, again, you had, ghost players on it and people non-credited on there. So it's, a typical Kiss record in that essence, if you think about it. But, the problem with this record, I think, is that it was so hyped up. Kiss record, new Kiss record, it's going to be awesome. We got the original guys are back. And then, of course, it just doesn't end up to be what everybody was hoping for. Even if that was them playing it, I mean, it's still not a great record overall. But I think, Bruce Fairbairn really did a good job on it sonically. I mean, it sounds good. I mean, when you listen to it, you can't possibly knock anything about it from a production end of things. It sounds really good. The only thing that was lacking in it is having good material on there, for the exception of Psycho Circus, which is probably the best Kiss song that Paul's written in a long, long, long time. The rest of it is kind of subpar, I think.
Yeah, totally fair enough. Ken?
Yeah, well, my pick for it was Tommy, Bruce, and Kevin Valentine. Of course, when it came out.
Sorry to interrupt you, but which Bruce? Bruce Kulick or Bruce Fairbairn?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, very good. Kulick, please. Yeah, I mean, of course, we all thought it was going to be the original four, and it would have been nice. I think it would have been a better album if they would have just got the original four in there and hashed out the songs together and tried to make a decent Kiss album. What turned out is a mishmash in styles on the album. It's not cohesive. Other than the production is cohesive, but the styles of songs, it's just kind of shifts gears here and there. So yeah, and I think Psycho Circus is great, and Journey of 1,000 Years is great, but those are way two different songs. Though they tie in kind of at with the solo and so on. But I have to say, Tommy for pulling off his Ace-isms, playing lead guitars in there, and then and Bruce helping out, and then hey, Kevin Valentine did all the drumming except for one song, right? So I have to give it to those guys, because those guys came in and helped complete the album.
All right, Andrew.
I picked Paul just because, well, first of all, I still like this album. But I picked Paul because he was kind of the ringleader of the band at this time. Gene was still off trying to sell Kiss toilet paper, and a lot of the Gene tracks on this one are left over from Carnival of Souls, Within especially, which is the strongest Gene track. Journey of 1,000 Years is my favorite, but it's just not a strong Gene track. If you understand what I mean. But no, Paul had to kind of sail this ship, and I thought the tracks that Paul delivered are fun. I like Psycho Circus. I like Pledge Allegiance. I like Raise Your Glasses a whole lot. And I think Dreamin' is cool too. So you have 4 really strong tracks, and then we're not going to talk about the ballad on this record, but I still like it. I still like it. So it's Paul Stanley for me.
All right. Well, let's move on into the live album, the Millennium Concert, which didn't come out at the time that it was supposed to. It was expected to be the release in conjunction with the farewell tour, but it ended up, well, not
How
even
many
being
times
done.
was this delayed? Because
All
this
summer.
was delayed. But it was delayed. Like first, it was supposed to be out in March 2000, and then it was like July of 2000, then November of 2000, then it disappeared. And then it was supposed to come out in 2001. Then it was supposed to come out again in 2002. So
And it eventually came out digitally in 2008.
No, there was
2006.
a physical release. There was a
The
physical
live,
release.
the live box set.
Yeah, live
Yes.
box set.
Oh, yeah, that was 2006. The Millennium.
Yeah, so there was that a live box set, and then it didn't even have all the tracks. You had to go and get this bonus little EP from Best
you had
Buy
to
that
fight for
they
it.
had no idea what this was. It was a CD in a blank white paper case.
No.
Then you got a week
No,
later, 'cause they
it was
didn't have them.
it
They
was
didn't have them.
supposed
You
to
go
be
get, like, a plate.
packaged. It was supposed to be packaged in the regular packaging as a Best Buy exclusive, but they buggered it up. So they pressed up those or put those discs in those little white slip sleeves for distribution. They just left them on counters. So you'd expect to go in with your receipt and say, "Hey, I bought the Best Buy edition." Yeah, blah blah blah. Okay, sir, here's your CD. But instead of they're on the counter. Go ahead, take one. And people would walk out with 10 of them or the whole stack and put them
I
up
still
on
never
eBay.
got one.
I've got a couple up there, one I bought and one I finally managed to get, I think, or I don't even remember what happened. But they really screwed it up. And then there was an exclusive for iTunes, which I think was Detroit Rock City.
Correct, Detroit City.
Which Detroit Rock City is the bonus track for, it was
Doesn't make
all
any
screwed
sense.
up. So they finally put it out on vinyl and digital, and they fixed the sequencing, which really helped. Oh my God. Okay, Andrew, you're talking. Who's the MVP of that?
Ugh.
Which was the same answer. I pled the fifth and refused to name one.
All right, so let's talk about this record. I mean, we've already talked about the many delays of this, but this record we were hearing this record over and over and over and over. The God of Thunder on this record is the same God of Thunder track that they lip synced to on WCW when the Demon Wrestler was announced. Shouted out loud, Rock and Roll Night, and whatever other songs are there that they did for the Pixel on iBash. It's the same track for that. And so we were hearing these tracks a lot, and I believe the Rock and Roll Night was the same. The Rock and Roll Night was on the box set, but that's the same track for the Super Bowl, I believe too. They just had live microphones on the Super Bowl. I don't quote me on that one. I haven't compared those versions yet. But we heard a lot of this record before it came out. So when it finally came out, and I was excited. I got that box set the first day it came out, and I listened to this, and I was like, "Oh, what is this?" I was like, "No wonder why they didn't want this to come out. This is bad. This is really bad." And the songs were really slow.
Mm-hmm.
A couple years ago, a trader, he sped it up by 0.5%, and that makes it tolerable. That's the version I listened to for this, and I just was like, ugh. I kept on turning it off and going, is this something else I could listen to? This is
It's
a hard
faster that
listen.
way.
It's hard. It's a hard
Yep.
listen, man.
Sure is.
This one sucks. You know what the MVP is? Whoever said, "Hey guys, maybe don't release this."
That's a great answer. That's a great answer.
Ken.
Never kept delaying the album.
Ken?
Me? Oh,
You.
sorry. Yeah, I think I fell asleep. No, yeah, I mean, I don't dislike it as much as maybe some of the you guys do. It's okay. I gave it to I gave the MPV to the whole group because hey,
Come on.
they stand or fall on that on their performance. They're the guys up on stage, so
This wasn't recorded on the stage.
well, whatever. It's the four of them, so
It's not.
I call it their last hurrah. So
Oh God.
this is just
I can't. No, just stop. Just stop. There's nothing. There's no redeeming qualities about this. This is like we can't. I can't even spin.
it's okay.
This.
Yeah,
I can't even spin this like Psycho Circus. At least I was nostalgic because it was the first record I bought the day it came out when I was a kid. But you can't. There's nothing you could spin about this to make it go, hey, you know what? I put that on. It's not that bad. No, you can't. Hold on. Let's. I hate to hammer on this.
I
But
listened
somebody's
to it
got
the
to.
other day. I did.
Somebody's
listen to
gotta.
it. I listened to it.
I saw you were listening to it.
Yeah,
Do you
I was listening
remember-
to it. It's not that bad, Andrew.
It is.
You gotta go back. You gotta go back.
Do you remember when this was supposed to be announced and there was like all these random songs like listed
Hard
like
Luck
Live
Woman.
4, Hard Luck Woman? We're like, when did they ever play that song? So then they were like, it's gonna be a pay-per-view and it's gonna be a live
Go back to
streaming.
Alive too, Andrew. If you're gonna start talking about that stuff.
At least
So
that
that's a
song
different.
was
That's another.
at least
Live
that song
version.
was performed like in the era. I mean, they did Hard Luck Woman at some of those early rock and roll over shows. They never played Hard Luck Woman when Peter got back in the band. Furthermore, they said it was recorded in Vancouver on New Year's Eve, 99-2000. Have you guys ever heard the live recording from that show, the bootleg recording?
It's not that show.
That's a shit show. Like, the whole band loses its sync when they came back from God of Thunder. Into the Void is an encore. I mean, just like.
Hey, it's smoke and mirrors, Andrew. So hey.
Some of
Get over
the raps match.
Some of the raps match, yeah.
That's
Hey,
not
it is what it is. I give it to the Ace, Gene, Peter, and Paul, and
Regardless of what Andrew thinks. There you go. Mark, what about you?
Well,
regardless.
I'm going to agree with Andrew. This is actually the absolute worst piece of garbage I've ever heard in my life. This is the one record beside when the reissues came out, when they released vinyl, I didn't get Destroyer, and we all know why, because it's garbage. And I didn't get this album as well, because I remember my friend, he bought it a long time, like when the earlier thing, when the thing that Ken got, the Alives in the box set there. And when I heard it there, I was like, wow, this sounds like a real tired band at this point. Like the tempos are so crawling on this. I was like, oh my God, like even when you on the box set, when they put Rock and Roll Night on there, that version there just sounds like it's like, oh, like just it's crawling. The pace is so slow. Like it just doesn't sound like there's any enthusiasm in the performance at all on there. And I mean, I went and saw them, just like I'm sure you guys did too, on the reunion tour. And when they first came through in Toronto on that first run there, they were good. They weren't they weren't Dream Theater or anything, but they were great. They played good. Peter had some good energy. The tempos were great. I really, really enjoyed it. But this sounds like they were like, it sounded like they were touring for like 7 years straight, and they were like, please God, let this be the last show kind of performance. It's just terrible. I've never ever enjoyed this album, and I actually listened to it the last 2 days in full, and that was like, that was really hard to do because it was just so slow, this performance. It was like, man, it's just horrendous, and I've never bought it on vinyl, and I never will. It'll never enter my Kiss collection.
Wow.
Never.
All right, Lonnie, stick a fork in it.
I was happy to get it when I was excited when they announced that Kiss box set back in 06. I'm like, oh, finally, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get to listen to it. That was that was the reason to go buy that box set. Other than Alive 1, Alive 2 on single disc, and which was cool at the time too. But I was really looking forward to it. Couldn't wait to hear it. And I was just never been so disappointed in a Kiss product in my life. I don't think before or after. I was so disappointed because my expectations for it were so high. But
what's wrong with us? We got excited when we bought 2 CDs, and then they're like, well, here we're gonna give you the same shit on 1 CD. We're like, yeah,
1 CD. I have to have that.
what's wrong with us?
That's a great example. A lot of what's wrong with us. 2 discs on 1 disc. Oh, so yeah, I've never been more. I
Losers.
I said Kiss when we submitted our votes because I said they all have to own it. But I'm just going to go with Andrew and just say, like, no one. The guy who delayed it, the guy who kept saying, push this off. This is not going to help the tour. Do not put this out there as product. This is not going to help sell tickets. It's going to sell less tickets if you put this out. So I'm going to say the guy who pushed it back.
All right. I said no one because I'm still butthurt about the Best Buy fiasco and the amount of times I went back to Best Buy and asked questions that had me looking like I was a 3-eyed amoeba. Moving on to Kiss Symphony. I could easily say none either because I despise Symphony simply because of the video being so bad, but also musically. I played French horn for years and could read music, and I just find the arrangements to be absolutely offensive compared to the bands that have actually used orchestra. Deep Purple with orchestra, where it's actually been done properly. And I just think it's garbage. But just to not say none twice in a row, I did say Peter because he did get to perform Beth with a full live orchestra, which is actually pretty damn cool. So, Lonnie, back to you.
I said David Campbell for, he's the director for the symphony, just because after Julian just trashes it. So, yeah, I went with him. I just because it was for the arrangements, just and no, they're not mind blowing by any stretch of the imagination, but just
which it is Kiss music, so they're hardly going to do mind blowing arrangements, right?
Correct.
Know your market.
I went with him
audience.
just by default because it's the Symphony records. I went with him. I don't have a whole lot of positive things to say about it either, so I just went with him just because.
All right, in search of more positivity, Mark.
Well, honestly, the reason why I picked this person, which is Tommy Thayer, is because I kind of try to put myself in his shoes for a minute. I mean, yes, I know the video is horrendous. The orchestration on here is nothing to write home about. I mean, if you want to hear a really good live thing with a symphony, I mean, Julian brought up Deep Purple, but also the 2001 Symphonic is incredible. But anyways, I thought back to Tommy Thayer, thinking to myself, okay, here's a guy who's new to the band, okay, coming in, playing a very huge kind of concert, and I thought he did a great job on guitar. I mean, let's forget about the horrendous orchestration. The first part of the show where it's just them playing, I thought he did a good job on guitar. I thought he played it really well. I have no complaints about it. He wasn't, sloppy. He was very good, I thought. And that's tough to do. Put yourself in his shoes. You're playing in front of 40,000 people in Australia, and you have those kind of jokers outside who are saying, if they don't play the whole of Elder, I'm going to cry foul, like these people that were out in the crowd. It's like, wow, like they were expecting
screaming murder.
Yeah, like this guy, like they should have slapped him for saying something stupid like that, But it's unbelievable, like what these people were expecting, and he was in there in the eye of the storm playing this stuff, and he did a great job. I think as a guitar player, he did what he had to do. And you know what? Nobody was throwing eggs at him. Nobody was booing him and stuff like that. So I think that he really proved his mantle, I think, there. And probably the reason why he's been in the band for so long is I think he's a good guitar player. Yes, he's not Ace and he's not these other guys, but he's a good player. He can do the stuff well. And he probably gets along with Paul and Gene well. And that's all that matters to them.
Andrew.
I love this record. I thought it was great. I sought out a bootleg of it after it happened, and I just thought it was fun. I was like, hey, this is something really cool. I mean, is it mind-blowing? No, but it's fun. When you hear that first, orchestra TAS of Detroit Rock City, you're like, hey, this is kind of cool. I was lucky enough. They did screen the DVD in New York City right the day that it came out. I think set 3 is edited the best out of all of the sets. But this definitely looks like something that came out in 2003. There were a lot of editing tricks that were going on in the early 2000s that are really apparent here. So I don't watch the video much at all. I mean, maybe I watch it once every 5 years. Maybe I'll watch it tonight. I don't know. But we're only 2 years away from this being 20 years ago.
That's crazy.
If you can believe that.
Yeah.
I do want to say something. I do want to say something really positive about the DVD. Is that little documentary of them getting there is actually really cool. You get to see a lot of really.
I watched that the most.
You get to see a lot of cool footage. I think it's silliness that Set 3 is on there twice. It didn't need to be 2 discs. They could have just threw that on the first disc. Would have been absolutely fine. But there's something funny about that. You see when the band arrives in Australia, and they're kind of just walking through the airport. Like, you see Gene and Paul and Peter, and then you see Tommy. He got dragging his own bags behind him. I just thought it was kind of funny, like he hadn't paid his dues yet. But I thought this was cool. Everything surrounding this record was cool. The 2 CD digipack was cool. I did buy the triple vinyl that came out at the time. The tour book is cool. For me, after the farewell tour, I really thought it was over. So when this was happening, I was excited that my favorite band was back. And I thought it was cool. Is it cool? Was the set list the best? No, they could have probably chosen some other songs that would have went over a little better. But no, this is cool. I really enjoy this. And as far as the MVP, it's Peter. He was happy to be back, and you could tell that he was playing with a little bit more fire on this performance than he was maybe at the last leg of the farewell tour. So yeah, I like this. I like this record.
Ken.
Yeah, well, the video obviously was not edited great. But if you just listen to the music from the album or CD, it's not bad. I like it for it being different. Hearing the orchestra or whatever behind it. Actually, if you're gonna do an orchestra, you have to put an electric light in front of it. But anyway, that I don't think I think Peter. It was good. Peter came back. He didn't have to. I guess it could have been Eric Singer and Tommy at that point.
Well, if you
right?
listen to the scratch tracks that David Campbell was working on, he was working on a soundboard recording. Hey, maybe he was using Tokyo 2001. We don't know. But he was definitely working on tracks where Eric Singer was on vocals for Black Diamond. So go back and listen to that. You'll hear Eric Singer. So maybe it was supposed to be Eric.
There you go. So yeah, they didn't know if Peter was going to, come back. But yeah, Peter did a great job, and he was excited, and I think he pushed himself to, keep in time with the orchestra and so on, their symphony. So yeah, I gave it to Peter. I'm just going to say something about the Millennium concert, Andrew. So on the just to throw it back, the Casteria came with the Millennium concert. So I was going to give that to you, but now I
no,
guess
you weren't.
You don't like it. So.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't. I don't have it on vinyl. Unlike Mark, I will eventually get it on vinyl. I understand it's out of print now, though, so it might be hard to come by.
Ooh, you're gonna have to pay
but
a
it is
premium.
one. What's that?
You're gonna have to pay a premium now.
Yeah, that won't happen. But it's man. Whew.
All right.
Okay, let's move on and go on YouTube and listen to Peter Criss from 2017 doing Strutter or Nothing to Lose with his brass and doing it right. And that's all I'll say. All right, Rock the Nation Live. It was only a video, but in some markets it did come with a bonus EP, which is why I've decided to include it here, and also just because it gives us the opportunity to pontificate about something else. So, Ken, straight back to you for that one.
Yeah, well, Rock the Nation Live, I did go to that concert when they toured on that. Yeah, it was a good DVD. I don't know if I have the EP or not on that, but it was good. It's obviously, invigorated, with Eric and Tommy and Gene and Paul. And I think, with them, Eric and Tommy pushing them to do some of the older stuff, that's a big deal too. So we were hearing a bunch of songs that we hadn't heard in a while, and they sounded great. They really did sound great. I know in the video, Tommy looks a little green, on stage, hasn't, gotten used to being in the band. But it's great. It's really good stuff. I like all of it. That's another one of those videos though that are kind of moved too fast too. I had a better time just putting on that one, what's it called, view or whatever, where you can just focus on one.
Power Vision kit.
Power Vision, yes, yeah, that sounds right. Where you can just focus on Paul or Eric, which is cool. I thought that was actually a cool thing that they did, because otherwise the video chops around too much otherwise. But the music itself is really good. So I gave it to Gene, Paul, Eric, and Tommy on that.
And King of the Nighttime World, which was included on the Japanese 3-inch CD EP, was also included on the Japanese tour edition of Monster. Figure that one out. So that was my logic for including it. Lonnie.
I love it. I love everything about all of the instant live CDs. I love the 3 songs that ended up on the EP. I already had them because I sought out so many of these instant live CDs that summer and the following fall and the next year that I have a mini collection of most of them actually from that tour. Actually, absolutely love that tour. That tour and this era of the band means a whole lot to me. I got divorced that spring, and that tour just kept me going in life that summer. I got divorced, and I told my brother, we're buying platinum tickets when they come here. We're going and we're meeting the band, and I really freaking needed it at that point in my life. And it was the first time I got to meet Gene and Paul in the makeup, and I love it. I love every part about that tour. I love the set list. I love the renewed energy that Eric brought to the band. So my MVP for Rock the Nation was Eric because of the just the renewed energy. I saw him in 2003 with Aerosmith, and then seeing him the next summer with Eric was just night and day. The stage looked, it was a new stage had like these little monitors. I'm like, no, that's the same stage with miniature monitors, but they sounded so different. And I just, I loved hearing "Got to Choose" and "Making Love" and "Unholy" and "God Gave Rock and Roll to You." It was a completely different experience than seeing Kiss that I had in previous years. I saw him I saw him here when I went to Memphis and saw him. I love everything about it, but Eric Singer is 100% my MVP for this tour record, whatever you want to call it.
Rock the Nation needs to be released as an album because I never want to watch that video again, and I completely concur with what Lonnie said. Eric Singer.
Is that because I'm in it?
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You'll still be in it, but
my MVP should have been Andrew.
We'll only hear you. So, Mark.
Well, I like this concert actually. I never saw them live on this tour, but I have to agree with all the points that have been made so far. I mean, I think that the band is much more energized. The set list is much more interesting on this show. I mean, it's completely night and day from like Millennium. Like it's how Millennium sounds so tired and slow. This actually has some energy in it, some life to it. I mean, Eric Singer obviously has a lot to do with that as well. I think Tommy has a lot to do with it as well. I think, when you add new people into a band, and even though, Eric is not technically new, he's been around for a while, but when you reinsert people back that you enjoy being with and playing with, it adds a whole new dimension to your performance overall. And it's obvious in that right there. I think that for me, I'm going to pull a Ken on this one, and I'm going to vote the whole band for this one, because I actually think that they perform very well together as a band on this performance, more so than any of the other albums we've talked about so far. I think that they're doing a great job, and I'm really glad that they performed some of these songs that they hadn't played in a long time, like "Unholy." Like that to me was one of the biggest surprises, seeing a makeup version Kiss doing "Unholy." That's like, wow. I mean, you never would have thought that before, that could have ever have happened. So I think it's a great performance. I think Julian's right. They should put out some sort of vinyl release of this. Maybe, who knows, with this new series that they're doing, maybe there'll be a Rock the Nation tour show that comes out on vinyl from this series. Who knows? And that would be a great addition, I think. and that would be something that I would definitely add to my Kiss vinyl collection.
They got some kick-ass art for that DVD packaging. That would make. I would just love to see that in 12 by 12. And I can't remember if all the tracks that they used as the bonus edition EP were included on the video or not. But it would make a great release. All right, Andrew, I made you wait until last for commenting out of turn. There you go. Now you may speak.
Hey, I'm going to echo what Lonnie says. What a cool summer this was. I was lucky to attend both shows that were recorded for the DVD, so I am on the DVD a couple times. Go and try and find me. But it was cool. I remember the excitement of waiting in line to get the instant lives. I did go platinum on this tour as well too. I did meet the band on this tour. It was my first time like actually getting close to the band. I saw them in Hershey, PA, July 18th. At the time, I was 10th row center, and that was the closest I'd been. Then 2 nights later, I was 2nd row center with my platinum ticket. But this was cool. Well, I remember all of the excitement surrounding this on Kiss Online, how they would post the set lists. And I think the set lists were a little bit more varied in Japan and Australia before they came to America. But I remember just looking and seeing like what they were going to play. They were going to throw this and they were going to throw that. And so I remember when it came time to see them in Hershey, there was one song that was rotating. And they were just doing Psycho Circus. So when it came time to that rotating song and Paul started introducing Psycho Circus, you can hear an audible groan on the Hershey Instant Live CD, and it is me, because I wanted to hear something cool. Later on that month, I did end up going to see them in Bristol, Virginia, which is Washington, D.C., and Virginia Beach, which is where the DVD was shot. And they played a little bit longer at both of those shows to put in all those cool extra tracks, because they did do All the Way. That's on the DVD, right?
No, that's on the bonus
Lover All
EP.
I Can is.
Okay, so Lover All I Can is on the... But they did them both. They did Lover All I Can, All the Way, King of the Nighttime World, Tears Are Falling, and they did one
Psycho?
other song, I think. Psycho, and they did Psycho. They did all of those songs both of those nights when they were recording material for that. So it was cool. It was fun. And I just remember we waited so long for that to come out. It was shot in July 2004. It didn't surface till December 2005. That was a lifetime to wait for that. A lifetime. We had thought that it was going to be out Christmas 2004, not Christmas 2005. But I remember I was working at a DVD store at the time. I got it 2 weeks early, so I was just excited. And I love the video on this one. So this is one I go back and I watch frequently. It was shot in HD, but there has never been an HD release of this. Same with the Symphony.
A gap for both of those for possible reissues, depending on whatever business issues they're on the background. The King of the Nighttime World, All the Way, and Psycho Circus were the audio bonus tracks for the Japanese version, which totals 24 tracks then with the stuff that was released on the video, which again would make a great vinyl release, as with this next title, Jigoku-Retsuden. Originally only released in Japan in 2007. It was the re-records.
2001?
2007 in Japan, and then I think live fact checking me now. Whatever. And then of course
August 27, 2008.
Bam.
Yes.
Okay. It was recorded in 2007. Okay. Is everyone we have consensus? Everyone is happy?
Hold on. You can't bag me for we are this is like the nerdiest Kiss nerd podcast that there is. That is an offshoot of the nerdiest Kiss website that there is. I'm not insulting that. I love the minutia.
We're embracing being clear in our nerdness.
Exactly.
There we go.
Exactly.
All right. So, does anyone have a quarter?
Shut up.
Yeah, I think so.
All
Want
right.
to insert it?
Yeah, Lonnie, go.
This was, I was sitting at my desk doing show prep, actually listening to these albums this week. And as I'm listening to this, you have like a column on iTunes that'll say like the last time you listened to a certain song, and like these songs, primary what I listen to most of anything is on my my iTunes account more than anything else, like most anyone. And I had not played any of these songs, not one of these songs since 2015. So a good 6 years since I've even just happened to come across one of these songs, even on like a shuffle or anything. And as I'm listening to this, I'm trying to decide, well, who's the MVP? Who's the MVP? Well, you know what? It's me. I am the MVP for this album, for sitting there and listening to this while I'm at work. Not only am I at work, but I'm torturing myself even more by listening to these re-records while I'm at work. And it just lacks so much feel and soul that are found on these original recordings. And it's nothing against Eric and Tommy being in the band. I'm not going to be one of those. I'm not going to be one of the people that bash Eric and Tommy being in the band. It has nothing to do with. It just is not there for me whatsoever. And apparently not, because I haven't listened to them in a good 6 full years of even stumbling across one of these songs. They're unlistenable to me, and I understand why they did it, because they want the rights to these songs for commercial use, but it's terrible. It really truly is. I mean, as much as we were sitting here bagging Millennium, I was going to say I was the MVP for Millennium. I was actually going to do it for that, because I sat and listened to that. And then I got to this album and I said, no, I'm using that for this album because it's so much even worse.
Ken.
Oh. Yeah, I picked Lonnie. No, I didn't. Not really. I almost picked you, Lonnie. So what I got, this came out. I remember I didn't get the Japanese one, but we got the one that came with Sonic Boom.
Wait, what album did it come with?
What?
What album did it come with?
Sonic
Boom. 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 Sorry.
Okay, enough of that. So yeah, I mean, I understand. They should have never sold their freaking rights. But anyway, so I gave it to Gene and Paul for the fact that they realized that they needed to do something, because Universal is going to get all the money for selling these songs to play and for commercials and whatever else, events and stuff. So let's re-record them so we can cash in on it.
That's of course if they play those versions of them.
That's if they play those versions. I want to say they did it on the Dr. Pepper
commercial, yeah.
Right.
And
Doesn't the pinball machine have something to do with it?
Yeah. Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I understand it. So it works out from that standpoint. But yeah, like Lonnie said, these don't have the feel of the original. I mean, they did a good job trying to match, the original stuff, but it just, come on, it doesn't work. So I just gave it to Gene and Paul for realizing that they needed to do that. Next.
Yep, Mark.
Yeah, well, actually, the funny thing is that I picked Paul and Gene for the exact same reason. I mean, the performances, I mean, I'm not going to say they're horrendous, but they were definitely just done for the sake of having availability, of getting some more cash flow in for other avenues of business, and they didn't want, Universal to capitalize on those songs.
And those guys are strapped for cash, so I can see why they did this.
Well, the reason why they gave up the rights to those songs because they were strapped for cash back then. That's why they lost it. Blames the stupidity of a coin and those guys for losing their rights to their songs. And now they have to do something to at least try to get some money back. I mean, sure, they did reaccumulate some of their wealth back. But, the music business is a very finicky business. Something could happen tomorrow. They could fuck things up again and be broke again. You never know, right? So it's a good thing that they did it, I think, from that aspect. But you could never compare these versions of the songs to anything from the original album versions. And I'll even go as far as to say that even these versions are not as bad. These versions are worse than the Destroyer versions of these original songs. I think the Destroyer ones are better than this. That's what's on here. So that's got to say something. But I mean, you listen to like I Love It Loud, on here. I mean, come on. I mean, listen to Creatures of the Night version of that. Like, that's so powerful. And this is just like, okay, let's just play it in 2 takes and that's it. Whatever we do after take 2, we'll just keep it. I just really just think it was a one and done kind of performance, and that was it. And, it's passable. Like you said, they use it on a commercial, they use it for the pinball machine, but it's not something that I think should be taken too overly seriously. This is strictly a business venture.
Fair enough. Andrew.
Let's remember what was going on in the music business at this time, because I don't think anybody mentioned this. There were so many bands that were doing this. Def Leppard, Heart.
Yeah.
There were a lot of bands just doing this, and I know it's a big point of contention that people say, well, hey, they never should have sold their rights to the music. Did they ever have them to begin with? Because they were on Casablanca, then Casablanca was sold to Polygram to Mercury, Mercury to Sanctuary and to Universal or whatever. So did they ever have the rights to their music? Because I don't think so. I don't think Kiss ever retained the rights to their music, because to them it wasn't. When Kiss was their most popular, their musical catalog was not valuable. So this isn't like a Motley Crue where Nikki Sixx is the prime writer and he wanted to have ownership of his music at the time. This isn't like that. I mean, Kiss was the soundtrack to the live show. I'm not downplaying the music at all, but I'm just saying that Gina Paul never saw the value in owning their own master. So I don't think and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they've ever owned their recordings at any time.
The thing is, for the most part, when you sign most record contracts, the first thing the record label usually goes for is saying that we get the master copies of it. Unless you have a really good lawyer and can go in there and argue, which you never can when you first start. There's like no way in hell you'll ever get that. But unless you're a band, like, for example, and I'm not sure, Andrew, if you're aware of this story, but I mean, there was a story running around that when Poison first got signed, they agreed to the most ludicrous contract ever for Look What the Cat Dragged In, on the condition that if they sold 1 million copies of that record, they could renegotiate their whole contract. And the label's like, yeah, 1 million copies, these guys, no problem. We'll give you whatever stipulation you want. And guess what happened? They sold a ton of copies and they renegotiated the whole thing. That's the only reason you'll ever hear something like that happening for bands like that. If they're lucky, or if they stay long enough where maybe they get popular and they have a little bit more power to get their rights back. But normally bands never get that option. So continue. Sorry.
Yeah. No. You're 100% correct, and you're thinking exactly the same way I'm thinking. So this was a business move. This wasn't Kiss being original in this business move. A lot of bands were doing this at this time. This was just something else that Kiss was doing to generate some income. Because let's remember, they were pretty much inactive from 2005 until 2008. So this was kind of them just slowly going back in to do this. Now, I know Julian said it was recorded in 2007. I actually think it was recorded in April and May of 2008. Because I want to say that it was recorded after they started the Alive 35 tour, which started in March in Australia of that year. So I want to say it was recorded after that Australian tour started. So, but something that we don't mention, and I can't mention because I don't have it, I was looking to buy it today. But this came with a bonus DVD. It came with an abridged version of Tokyo 77. So this was a Japanese product. Could this have been a product that Kiss was going to tour Japan behind? I don't know. But for the purpose of this show and what we're talking about here, I think the MVP is Eric. I think some of the drum parts are really well played. I really enjoy the versions of Deuce, Hotter Than Hell, and Black Diamond. I think I Love It Loud, I Was Made for Loving You, and Do You Love Me should be scraped off this planet and never listened to or played again. There's an extra little drum beat in Do You Love Me. But you know what? I think these are cool. This is something I listen to probably more so than any other compilation. But aside from wanting to sell these songs for advertising and to be in pinball machines, what else were they going to do with these? What else were they going to do with these songs? There had to be something else. Maybe a Japanese tour, maybe something. I mean, who knows? But if anybody has a copy they want to sell, please let me know. I would like to buy it.
They could.
Could it have been possible that it could have been for like a rock band situation or something like that maybe they were hoping for?
Oh, you know what? I didn't even
possible.
think about that. I didn't even think about that.
Time, too.
Yeah, and you could be right. You could be right, because some of those raw tracks from the Alive recordings ended up in I think it was Guitar Hero. Was it Guitar Hero?
Yeah.
So,
But how cool would that have been? A Kiss rock band. That would have been. Listen, I would have bought it. I would have bought it the day it came out. It should have happened back then. But I think I like this album. I do. And unfortunately, I only have a digital download of it. So, if anybody has a copy they want to sell, let me know.
Now, if any of these vinyl gurus who are managing to do licensing deals and pressings of their own could get the rights to this and do a shiny Mylar backing cover, get rid of that god-awful, atrocious Kiss logo on the front with the metallic one and press it up on vinyl, that would actually be pretty cool, especially if they could include the non-vocal version of Forever, which was used down the phone later on. That was used for one of the promos. That would be a pretty cool product, but I don't listen to this.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I forgot about that. They used that version. So there was a contest in 2008 to sing with Kiss, and Tommy Thayer was the guest at the Kiss Coffee House, the anniversary party in September of 2008. And to enter in the contest, you sang over the phone to Forever. And I forgot that they used that. You're totally right about that.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. And man, I worked at the coffee house at that time. Some of the people that entered it were terrible.
Oh,
and it was
pretty good.
That was
really? I mean, it's basically karaoke. I mean, you just expect to have Pavarotti when you go to karaoke.
Oh my! Oh no, you guys! It was so fun to listen to. I mean, we would be laughing our asses off listening to those people. The guy that won it was in some metal band that was in there, and I just remember his CD was like always at the coffee house after that. But man, how cool! That was a cool time.
We're going to leave it there for this week. We're going to revisit the rest of the albums and some of the bits and pieces that I didn't include in yet another episode, because we have hit the time limit that I like to keep these shows to. And I think Sonic Boom and Monster really require more airtime.
Sonic what?
Boom! Boom! just can't do it. Yeah, so let's leave that there. What are your opinions on who the MVP is of these albums released from Carnival of Souls up to Jigoku-Retsuden? What do you like? What do you dislike? And of course, for the videos, for the case of Rock the Nation Live. So let us know your thoughts. Who was right? Who was wrong? And did you get a quarter's worth out of Lonnie this week, or do we really have to agitate him a little bit more before letting him go next week? So there we go. From Lonnie, from Mark, from Ken, Andrew, myself. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Woo.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.